Hi everyone and welcome to Behind Dark Minds. I'm Nina Clark and in today's episode we are going to talk about the 2018 Santa Fe High School shooting. So let's begin. May 18, 2018, a small town in Texas was forever changed in just 25 minutes. 10 lives lost, 13 others were wounded. And the question that still lingers today, why? Who was Dimitrios Pagourtzis, and what pushed this quiet, seemingly normal teen to open fire on his classmates and teachers? Was it rejection, mental illness, or something more systemic, something society continues to overlook? Today, we go behind dark minds to understand the Santa Fe High School shooting. Dimitrios Pagourtzis didn't fit the typical mold of a school shooter, at least not on the surface. He was described as a regular kid. He played on the junior varsity football team. His teacher said he was quiet but respectful. His classmates said he was a loner, someone who didn't cause much trouble, and wasn't outgoing either. He was raised in a Greek Orthodox household, attended church, celebrated holidays with family, and like many kids his age, he kept a journal. But that journal would later reveal something deeply disturbing, a glimpse into a mind unraveling. Months before the shooting, Dimitrios Pagourtzis began wearing a long black duster-style trench coat to school, along with combat boots. He wore it almost every day, even in the sweltering Texas heat. What made this especially alarming in hindsight was the eerie similarity to the Columbine shooters, who wore long coats during their 1999 rampage. That event sparked a wave of dress code reforms across the U.S., with many school districts specially banning trench coats or duster-style jackets. And Santa Fe High School's dress code policy did prohibit those types of garments. So how did Dimitrios get away with wearing one? That's still unclear. Some speculate that the rule simply wasn't enforced. Others believe that the warning signs, like his fascination with Columbine, were brushed off as just a phase. The coat wasn't just a symbol, it was his concealment, and it was a missed red flag. What couldn't be seen, though, was what Dimitrios was struggling internally. Reports suggest he may have been suffering from schizoaffective disorder, a complex mental illness that blends mood disorders with symptoms of schizophrenia. Whether he had a formal diagnosis before the shooting remains unclear, but the signs were there: paranoia, dark ideation, and a growing obsession with violence. Among the 10 victims was Shanna Fisher, just 16 years old. She was bright, assertive, and according to her mother, unafraid to speak her mind. Segi Rodriguez, Shanna's mom, later revealed that her daughter had recently rejected Dimitrios' romantic advances. Rodriguez told the Associated Press he continued to get more aggressive. She finally stood up to him and embarrassed him. Just a week later, Shanna was gone.
And I think that she knew beforehand because this guy kept harassing her about wanting to be with her, like, in a relationship.
Whether this rejection was the tipping point is still debated, but many believe it played a pivotal role in his rage that day. Now let's go through the timeline of events, and afterwards we'll talk more about the shooter. The morning of Friday, May 18, 2018, began as any other at Santa Fe High School, but by 7:38 a.m., a normal school day turned into one of the deadliest school shootings in Texas history. This is a detailed minute-by-minute reconstruction of what unfolded that day and how it happened. At 6:20 a.m., 17-year-old Dimitrios Pagourtzis exits his family residence in Alvin, Texas. He is dressed in his black duster-style trench coat. On his feet, black combat boots. Underneath his coat, he conceals two firearms, a Remington 270 12-gauge pump-action shotgun and a 38 caliber Rossi revolver. Both weapons were taken from his father's unsecured collection. The father, a licensed gun owner, had not stored them in a gun safe nor used any form of trigger locking mechanism. In addition to the firearms, Pagourtzis also carried a duffel bag and a tactical backpack, each containing improvised explosive devices. These include pipe bombs fashioned from metal tubing and black powder, Molotov cocktails made from glass bottles and accelerants, and CO2 canisters packed with shrapnel, assembled with the clear intent to cause maximum destruction.
This killer was intent on trying to inflict horrific damage on these kids.
Pagourtzis arrives at the school between 6:45 and 6:55 a.m. in a Dodge Dakota truck belonging to his family. He parks in the designated student lot near the west side of campus. Surveillance cameras later confirm he remains in the vehicle for several minutes, likely performing final preparations. Students begin arriving around the same time. Several later report seeing him either in his truck or loitering near the lot. Noticeable, but not suspicious, as his trench coat was already a known part of his attire. The school bell rings at 7:10 a.m. Students transition to their first classes. On the west side of the school, Art Room 1 fills with approximately 20 students under the instruction of Cynthia Tisdale. Adjacent to it, Art Room 2 also begins its session under the instruction of Ann Perkins, a substitute teacher. Both rooms are connected by a shared ceramics room and supply closet. This area of the school is relatively isolated, with limited staff movement during early morning hours. Between 7:25 and 7:32 a.m., Pagourtzis begins moving towards the art wing entrance. His coat remains buttoned. His posture and pace are controlled. Surveillance video shows him walking without hesitation, but not in a way that drew alarm. At this point, the shotgun and revolver remains concealed beneath his coat. The duffel bag and backpack are either on his back or his hands, positioned to allow rapid access. At 7:38 a.m., Pagourtzis enters Art Room 1 and opens fire immediately, using the 12-gauge Remington. The first shots are close range. Victims are struck before they can react. 17-year-old Jared Black is killed while seated. 16-year-old Shayna Fisher, the girl who had previously rejected Pagourtzis, is also struck fatally. He also kills 14-year-old Kimberly Vaughn, 15-year-old Kyle McLeod, and 63-year-old teacher Cynthia Tisdale. 8 others are wounded. Students scatter in all directions. Some tried to flee through the back entrance of the classroom, but it was locked. Several students from both art rooms ran into the ceramics room to hide. A teacher inside the ceramics room helped lock or barricade the door once students entered. Others dive under tables or go to the supply closet that connects both rooms. By 7:40 a.m., Pagourtzis goes through the shared supply closet to access the adjacent Art Room 2, and he continues firing. Inside the closet, he kills 17-year-old Shabika Sheikh and 15-year-old Christian Riley Garcia, who heroically tried to barricade the door. Students in Art Room 2 are now hiding under desks, against walls, or attempting to block entrances with chairs and backpacks. Witnesses describe a calm, deliberate shooting. No words, just mechanical action. He enters Art Room 2 and kills 15-year-old Angelique Ramirez, 17-year-old Christopher Stone, and 64-year-old substitute teacher Ann Perkins. 4 others are wounded. Calls began flooding into 911 at 7:41 a.m. Students whisper into their phones, "There's a shooter in the art room and people are bleeding."
School shooting, we have an active shooter, several people down.
The first active shooter alert was triggered internally by school staff at 7:42 a.m. using a system for mass notification. At 7:43 a.m., School Resource Officer John Barnes, stationed on site, responds to the sound of gunfire. Dimitrios briefly exits the room into the hallway, likely predicting that an officer would come. Barnes confronts Pagourtzis near the hallway, but is shot in the upper right arm during the exchange.
In my mind, because I was thinking it was a rifle, this is where you get into training, right? And the training says gain distance, right? Okay, the problem with that is when you're the first one on the scene, gaining distance might help you not get shot, but it doesn't help you put that guy down. I thought, okay, I need to try to make this as advantageous to me as possible so I can actually hit the guy. So I got right next to the corner of that because I was trying to use that as cover, that cement wall there. And I didn't know he had already heard me. I didn't know he knew I was coming. The video shows him posted. When I say posted, I mean the shotgun was posted on the door frame, right? And he was pointing at the corner. So he knew that I was coming around that corner. And I didn't know that, right? Had I known that, I wouldn't have done what I did because there's no way you're going to win that. And I thought, okay, as soon as I see him, I'll get a shot off and at least be able to hit him before he can shoot me, or hopefully miss if he does shoot me. As soon as my arm, because there's no safe way to do this. If you are putting a gun around a corner, you have to expose your arm. There's no way to hide your arm. And so I don't know if my head was completely over my gun or if I had it back a little bit like this, because I never saw him. So I'm like this and I get hit, and I never saw him. I never saw, all I knew is I had a big hole in my arm.
The ammunition used is buckshot, capable of causing severe widespread internal damage. The wound severs a major artery. Barnes manages to crawl behind cover and radio for backup before losing consciousness.
They're having a shooting at the high school, have an officer down, shooter not in custody.
Within minutes, between 7:44 and 7:48 a.m., units from the Galveston County Sheriff's Office, Texas DPS, and the Santa Fe ISD police arrive. Officers begin a systematic clearing of classrooms and hallways. They move with caution, aware of potential explosive threats. Students are ordered to evacuate in lines, hands up. Many are barefoot, forced to abandon their belongings in the rush to escape. Pagourtzis retreats into Art Room 1 and begins fortifying his position using upturned desks and supply cabinets. Inside, several students remain hidden. Gunfire became sporadic, possibly used as intimidation or misdirection.
He's actually shooting. He's in the art room. We got shots fired right now, guys.
Authorities shift from active engagement to tactical containment.
Officer down. See his coverage on the outside. We believe he's barricaded inside.
At 8:02 a.m., a suspicious bag outside the school entrance is examined. Inside are multiple homemade IEDs, some armed with fuse, others containing nails or shrapnel. Bomb squads are called in, a perimeter is established. Evacuation routes are restructured to minimize exposure. Between 8:17 and 8:40 a.m., SWAT teams begin attempts at verbal contact. Using hallway speakers and megaphones, they issue commands and negotiate. Pagourtzis responds at intervals. According to officers, he says, "I'm not going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot myself." He then adds, "I want to spare the people I like." At some point during the standoff, he places the shotgun and revolver on the ground.
As we approach the door, the other art room door that we weren't approaching opens up. Hands come out. So we don't know who he is. We don't know who it is. It's surrendering. It was him, though. That kid crawled to me and said, "I didn't think I could do it." At least 3 times. I didn't think I could do it. So he crawled to me, grabbed hold of him, spun him around, patted him down, handcuffed him, and somebody else drug him off.
At 8:42 a.m., he's taken into custody without further incident. Between 8:45 and 9:15 a.m., teams sweep the building for secondary threats. All found explosive devices are disabled or removed by EOD specialists. Students are fully evacuated and sent to the nearby gymnasium for reunification with family members. By 10 a.m., a final casualty report is issued. 10 lives lost, 8 students, 2 teachers. All shots were taken at close range with legally obtained firearms. 13 others injured, some from gunfire, others from blunt trauma sustained during escape. Multiple explosive devices are recovered, none successfully detonated. Authorities later confirmed the shooter lacked the technical skill to properly arm many of them. The Santa Fe High School shooting lasted just over an hour. In that time, 10 lives were taken, dozens were wounded, and hundreds more were traumatized. The event exposed systemic failures in gun storage, school security policy, and mental health intervention. Yet, it also revealed bravery from students who shielded their peers and officers who ran towards gunfire. In the hours following the shooting at Santa Fe High School, the parking lot outside the school transformed into a scene of desperation.
I shouldn't be going through this at my school. Like, this is my daily life. I shouldn't have to feel like that. And I feel scared to even go back. I just keep thinking that I'm going to wake up and it's going to be all over. And it didn't happen. I just think this is going to be a bad dream, but it's not.
10 families would receive the news no parent should ever hear. Their child, their sibling, their loved one would not be coming home.
We come together today as we deal with one of the most heinous attacks that we've ever seen in the history of Texas schools.
The victims ranged from 14 to 63 years old. 13 people were physically injured, some requiring surgeries, others needing long-term rehabilitation, but emotional wounds ran deeper. Students reported nightmares, anxiety attacks, guilt.
Your brain never stops telling you you are in danger. You're in danger constantly, you've got to watch out, and it's exhausting. It is just absolutely exhausting. So even when I do get out and make myself go to things in public that I have to attend or a social event, and when I get home, I'm absolutely exhausted, mentally exhausted.
The legal system moved quickly at first. Dimitrios Pagourtzis was arrested on the spot and charged with 10 counts of capital murder and 13 counts of attempted murder. He was just 17 years old, and under Texas law, that meant he could not face the death penalty, nor could he receive life without parole. In the weeks and months after the shooting, investigators and mental health experts began piecing together a disturbing portrait of Dimitrios Pagourtzis, a quiet teen whose darkness had been hiding in plain sight. He was described by many as a regular kid. He played football, was quiet in class, and respectful to teachers. He attended the Greek Orthodox Church with his family. His parents were involved, supportive. From the outside, Dimitrios looked ordinary, but inside, something was unraveling. Dimitrios kept a journal. In it, he wrote about his desire to kill, his plans, his targets. He even sketched diagrams, mapping out the school layout, entry points, and explosive placements. He fantasized about mass shooting, especially Columbine. He idolized the killers Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, and researched their methods in detail. The long black trench coat he wore was a direct reference to the so-called trench coat mafia associated with the Columbine attackers. Pagourtzis wore the coat almost every day to school, and though the school's dress code banned long coats, a policy common in post-Columbine districts, no one stopped him, no one questioned it. He even customized the coat, adding distinctive pins, including a pentagram, a Baphomet symbol, a rising sun, and the phrase "born to kill." He was building an identity around destruction, and he didn't hide it. But what drove him to kill? Some believe the answer lies in rejection, but rejection alone doesn't explain everything. In the years following the shooting, medical evaluations revealed that Pagourtzis suffered from a schizoaffective disorder. This diagnosis explains several of his symptoms: paranoia, grandiose thinking, emotional detachment, hallucinations, violent ideation. One therapist said that Pagourtzis appeared to live half in reality, half in a delusion. He reportedly believed the CIA was following him, and at one point said he felt possessed. In 2022, court records revealed a startling detail. Pagourtzis had told staff of the psychiatric facility that he still hears voices and still wants to kill people, including himself. There were warning signs. Classmates said he was bullied, target for his clothing, his silence, his awkwardness.
The coaches would bully him and call him names, and he just didn't have a lot of friends either. And then I believe one of the victims that he shot bullied him too.
He had one posted on Facebook: "I hope to one day kill everyone who made fun of me." One of his friends later said Dimitrios became obsessed with violent media and drew pictures of guns and blood in class. He wasn't always like this, but something changed. He became darker. Even worse, just months before the shooting, a classmate died by suicide, someone Dimitrios had known. That event deeply affected him. According to those close to him, some believe it normalized death in his mind. That when faced with pain, you either endure it or cause it. So, who is Dimitrios Pagourtzis? A loner, a fantasist, a boy with untreated mental illness, a student rejected and ridiculed, clinging to a twisted legacy built by others who came before him, but also a teenager in a system that saw the signs and did nothing. His teachers noticed the drawings. His classmates noticed the code. His journals spelled out the plan, and the weapons were within arm's reach. This wasn't just a tragedy. It was a failure of school policies, mental health care, and gun regulation. And the cost of those failures? 10 lives. In the months after the Santa Fe High School shooting, the headlines faded, but the battle for justice was only just beginning. 10 families buried their loved ones. 10 futures were stolen, and a community was left searching for accountability in a system that had failed at every turn. The most immediate legal focus was Dimitrios Pagourtzis. Then came the twist that would delay justice indefinitely. In 2019, Pagourtzis were declared mentally unfit to stand trial.
You've had an opportunity to meet with Dimitrios Pagourtzis.
That's correct.
Can you describe the nature of your interaction? Anything he said to you that you can tell us?
I can't divulge anything that he's said at this point. I can tell you that he's going through a very difficult time right now.
And he was committed to a maximum security mental health facility.
His day consists of classes that are designed to help achieve restoration to competency, classes in terms of educating him on who the players are in the system, the roles of the judge, the prosecutor, the defense attorney, witnesses, things like that. Understanding kind of a threshold level of the legal system so that, again, the whole idea behind competency is he's able to assist in his defense and make rational decisions with the advice of counsel, of course. He has classes. He undergoes regular therapy, group, individual. He is on a wide variety of medications to combat his psychosis. Unfortunately, his condition is such that his mental illness is very severe. His psychosis is very persistent.
In 2022, multiple families sued Lucky Gunner, a Tennessee-based ammo retailer, the online ammunition retailer that sold shotgun shells to Pagourtzis. The company, which had also sold ammo used in the 2012 Aurora movie theater shooting, did not verify his age at the time of the purchase. Legally, they didn't have to. Texas did not require age verification from online ammo sales, so he clicked a few buttons, paid with a card, and the ammunition was shipped to his door. The lawsuit against Lucky Gunner was dismissed and settled out of court. Pagourtzis' parents were also sued. The guns used in the attack were theirs, not secured, and easily accessible to their son. The lawsuits alleged negligence, claiming the parents ignored clear warning signs. The jury found that the parents were not legally liable for the mass shooting. While their son used their guns, the jury did not find enough evidence of direct negligence or foreseeability of the attack.
The jury foreperson who agreed to answer some questions off camera told me he and others tried to put themselves in the shoes of the alleged gunman's parents, ultimately deciding they should not be held responsible for his actions.
Under Texas law, it was illegal to intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly make a firearm accessible to a child under 17. But Dimitrios was 17 years old, just outside the threshold for that law. In the years since, the town of Santa Fe has tried to heal, but it's been slow. Some students transferred, some dropped out, others returned, determined not to let one person steal their future. The school removed the art rooms where the shooting took place. Memorials have been held each year. 10 crosses stand in remembrance. 10 names are etched into the heart of a community forever changed. To this day, more than 6 years later, Dimitrios Pagourtzis has not stood trial. Each year, the court reevaluates him. Each year, families gather, hoping for closure. And each year, the ruling is the same: not competent. Despite national outcry, no sweeping gun reform followed the Santa Fe shooting. Texas lawmakers promised improvements, but most changes were cosmetic.
The Safety Enhancement Act would allow school districts to apply for grants to pay for metal detectors and bulletproof doors, and developing a system for sharing information between schools, law enforcement, and parents. The second bill is the Protecting Communities and Preserving the Second Amendment Act. That would strengthen criminal background checks and provide stronger laws to prosecute felons who try to buy guns.
A few schools added metal detectors, more armed officers, mental health counselors, but state legislation, no new gun storage laws, no mandatory background checks for ammo, no legal age verification requirements for online sellers. In fact, just 3 years later, Texas passed permitlessly carry, allowing most adults to carry handguns without training or license. For grieving families, it was a gut punch. One parent said, "We thought this would change something. It didn't. 10 lives were stolen, dozen more were shattered. And yet, the same questions linger. How do we stop this from happening again? Where do we draw the line between personal responsibility and system failure?" There are no easy answers, only the ongoing pursuit of understanding. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and hit that bell button for more deep dive stories. And I'll see you in the next episode of Behind Dark Minds. Bye.